Hey, breaking up the order, huh?
Hi,
What?
Coach.
Hi.
Hi, looking forward to doing your game this weekend.
Yeah, thank you.
I saw a clip of you earlier talking about your team's defense and how much you've liked it specifically over the last 4 games. I was wondering if there's something specific that stands out to you that's maybe changed to allow that sort of improvement.
That we're actually doing it. I think we're following through with give my staff, they deserve the credit. They've done a great job scouting our last 4 opponents and, put together a good scout, and our players have done an awesome job of kind of, playing the scout. And so I think it's showing up on the court. I mean, 28% from the field, 24 from the three. Those are numbers that you can't lie. I mean, sometimes the points per game, you can kind of, work them to your benefit because you might play a slow game yourself, but those other raw numbers don't really lie. So been proud of it. We got to continue because both these teams, in the mountains are offensive minded. And so we're going to have to be on point defensively.
Ryan Thorburn, registered guard. I'll come back to you, Amanda. Sorry.
Kelly, Utah, when you played them, that was their first game. How much different are they now, now that they have, played games and I assume improved with a young team?
I mean, Ryan, I like your look. You look like you could be a roadie for Nirvana right now, bro. I love it. Anyway, they're much different. I mean, obviously they, that night you could tell they were really rusty. They got some good looks and they just didn't knock them down like they have. And that's tough coming off 2-week quarantine like that. But after watching them at Arizona State the other night, completely different team. They've actually changed their lineup as well. They still shoot the ball really well, but I just like their defense is better. You can tell they're a little more cohesive. So entirely different team. In fact, I didn't even watch a good portion of the second half the first time, our first game, because it didn't really help me out. I'm more interested in what they've done recently, and it's been a lot better.
Andrew Hobner.
That was a compliment, by the way, Ryan. Compliment, bro.
I would love to be a roadie or something. I'm looking for work, so that would be awesome.
Okay. All right.
Andrew, you're up.
Yeah, Kelly, JR is a bit of a protege of yours off your coaching tree. It's been a slow grow there at Colorado, but they got that win over Stanford this week. I'm just kind of curious what the communication is, if anything, between you guys in season like that, and if a win like that is indicative of where that program's kind of going.
Andrew, that's a great question. By the way, I guess if I stick with the roadie, you're kind of maybe a Backstreet Boys roadie. I don't know, something to that effect, maybe. Anyway, JR and I talk all the time. In fact, I was proud, and she let me know that I was her first call after the Stanford game. But when it's game week, Andrew, we don't talk. We don't talk to each other, because, that week we're competitors. But I rely on her a lot. When I have issues with my team or offense or defense, I usually run them by her at some point. And, we're just like family. So this is never a fun game.
Eric Scopel.
By the way, if I were to ever be considered for any type of boy band, anything, that might be one of the best compliments I have ever received.
Okay, let's go.
Coach, I was going to ask you just the latest on, you can tell me which roadie I'd be.
Okay.
Maybe Mumford & Sons or something like that. I don't know.
Wait, which one? What was that?
Maybe Mumford & Sons. I don't know.
I love Mumford & Sons. Well, if you ever get tickets, I'll go with you, big guy.
All right, let's do it. I was just going to ask you the latest on Nyara and Erin, and I assume it seemed like Kylie was probably likely to play, but the first two, what's the latest? Yeah,
Kylie's was a concussion, so she just had to sit out. Erin, back issue, and if you guys have been, you've been around athletics enough to know that when it's a back, it's game to game, day to day. But from what I understand, she'll be back today at practice, and took a few days off, and so hopefully it feels better. And then Nyara, I don't know yet. You know, Monday she didn't do anything because that's usually our run, lift, and shoot day. Tuesday's our day off, so I know she was getting rehabbed on those days. But today's our actual first practice of the week, technically speaking. So I'll see here in about an hour.
Back to Amanda.
I feel like I kind of want to be like in on this little game that we're doing here. I don't know what group I would fit into though, but you can think about it.
Yeah, and I got to be careful. I don't want to say anything that would offend any of you guys, you know, in terms of that. But
now I feel left out. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
I was just gonna ask, you know,
Connie and Marie.
Cool.
Because I say that because you wouldn't even know who they are.
I don't. I was just, yeah.
We are going to Utah, so it's appropriate.
I was just going to ask really quick, you know, if there's a player that comes to mind as a coach on your team, that's more of that role player for you guys that impacts the game incredibly, but maybe wouldn't necessarily jump out to someone just looking at the box score.
Well, one of the things that we're trying to get Taylor Chavez, you know, on track, because I think she can give us a lot of the intangibles that we need. You know, I think defensively she's done a nice job for us, and there's a, you know, she's played, you know, really, really well defensively, and I think that that's, you know, helped and one of the reasons why we are playing better defensively. So, you know, she's never going to, I think, get huge numbers offensively. We just have too many other weapons. So she's definitely falls in that category. Plus, I think Maddie Shear, she's been injured. So this last weekend was, you know, a different role for her. And then the other is Sydney Parrish. I think Sydney Parrish is really coming. She's doing a good job offensively. She can really shoot it, but she can attack the basket, gets to the line. Defensively, she's always in the right place. So she's doing things that you may not necessarily appreciate all the time, but she gets a lot of hands-on balls that lead to tips, which lead to steals. And so I think those are just some of the few.
Yeah. James Scarpia, the Oregonian.
Kelly, just wanted to see, since it could be as soon as, I guess, next week, if there was an update on ASU and the makeup, if that's going to be a front end of or back end of next week, or if that's going to wait till the end of the season, or if there's any talk of moving up the OSU game to free up the final week entirely, because there's an argument to be made that would actually make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think these games need to be played. You know, you look at the standings, and not to duck your question in terms of us, I don't know is the same answer I gave you last week. I haven't been told which games will be made up. My guess is those teams that missed out on the most games will have priority. That's just a guess. Right now, we've only missed one game. Some teams have missed 4 and 5. They'll try to probably make those games up before they'll make our single game up. That's just what I'm guessing. But, you know, look at the Arizona UCLA game this weekend has now been postponed or canceled. And that's important because, you know, those two are vying for a championship and, you know, and certainly for seeding in the tournament. And, you know, one of those two would have had 3 losses, same as us at the end of that game. And so I think there's you know, I think those kind of things need to be played out. And I think, James, that actually is on the conference's mind. I think they'll take those games that you know might have a little bit more importance in terms of what the final standings. So it's going to be a wait and see, buddy. You can keep asking me, and guaranteed, man, I will give you an answer if I got it.
I just figured, you know, you know before they'll probably announce it to us. So that's why.
Yeah. And then for you, I'm guessing Zach Brown band, man. You know what I'm talking about? I could see you in some overalls.
Oh, yeah, you got the right guy.
Yeah. There we go.
The city folk with the Zach Brown band. Thank you.
Hey, when you make a commitment to something, I got to see it through, I guess. So
back to Eric.
I guess from a personnel perspective, you mentioned Utah. It looks a lot different. Can you speak to some of their top players? It looks balanced from a statistical perspective. You've watched more than I have, and probably some of those you'll be reading stories about them. Kind of what can you tell us just from what to expect from a player perspective?
Yeah, Eric, you have a really good eye. It is a balanced attack. Camry Martin's the one that's really stepped up for him. She had a great game at ASU, had 25 points, but that's been coming. You've seen her playing more. They've inserted her into the starting lineup, and she's been great. McFarland, they've inserted her at the post, and she gives them a whole different dynamic than Pendande, and she's really good on the boards, very aggressive, and runs the floor like crazy. But still, Maxwell, you got to play her for the three. That's the key. When you play Utah, they run great stuff and they can make threes. And if they're on, you're in trouble because they can make 10, 15, even more. So we've got to defend the 3-point line. I think that's no secret. So Maxwell, I think Gilton, their point guard, is one of the best in the conference. I think she may lead the conference in assists. I haven't really looked at the stats. And Torres seems like she's been there forever, at that 4 spot. She can make threes. But Becker coming off the bench is really good. Or Decker, I guess. So it's by committee.
Ryan.
Good eye.
Kelly, a lot of times high school stars, like the ones in your recruiting class, rely on their talent in high school and don't learn a lot of defensive fundamentals and that sort of thing. Did your class come in with a defensive mindset, or is that something you mentioned Maddie and Sydney, that they've learned quickly here?
Yeah, well, Maddie Shear was considered one of the best defenders on the Nike EYBL circuit. I mean, that was everybody knew that. Parrish, I think she's the one that's really surprised me. She's a really good team defender. Kylie Watson got a defensive mentality, tough, strong, a good rebounder. Angela Dugalich, she's still trying to figure it out, but she's so long. And I sat and watched film with her yesterday for about a half hour. And I was really, really impressed with, just watching. When you're watching with one person, she has a good understanding of defensive positioning in a team concept. So I've been impressed there. And then, Pau Pau is, she's got so much on her plate offensively that, defensively, she's solid. There's no question. You don't play for Terry Bamford at La Jolla Country Day. But I will say the 2 other Country Day stars were Candace Wiggins and Kelsey Plum, who scored a lot of points. So they're learning defensive fundamentals, but they're pretty good offensively.
Andrew.
Yeah, Kelly, with Sedona, she has been working her way back in. She's been playing pretty well. I mean, where is she kind of at, I guess, from a health perspective, if you had to put a percentage on it, and just how much more, can you get out of that game, especially now that we're in sort of the final stretch of the conference season?
Andrew, I thought Sedona had a really nice weekend at both ends of the floor. Defensively, she was a huge factor with the 5 blocks and the intimidation factor. You could have accounted for a couple more. I would put it, she's maybe 75, 80%. Only she can answer that. But I know that she's still working her way back strength-wise. She's not able to dig in as deep as she was last year in practice. So, she's still coming. Plus the timing. It's only been a couple of games back. But when we need her is those crunch time games in March and hopefully April. And I'm anticipating by then she's going to be close to 100%.
So it's time for a couple more. Krista Blunt, Pac-12.
Hey, Kelly.
KB.
Andrew took part of my question, but I was really impressed with Lydia. I think Lydia's kind of been that whatever you need kind of player, and for her to get the double-double, especially when you were a little shorthanded. Maybe talk a little bit about her play against Washington, but also a little bit more on Sedona. Because she's not 100%, are they limiting you on minutes? Because it looks like she's playing some pretty big minutes so far.
Well, she had to this weekend because we didn't have Nyara and Erin and Kylie Watson. So we played her more than we should have. Yes, she's kind of been under a minute restriction. Lydia was great. And Amanda, going back to your question, I should have added Lydia as well. I think she's, showed, I think the other day, how good she can be. She's a great rebounder. She's probably our best screener. And runs the floor. She's our fastest player end line to end line. And she just gives us that energy that we need. And she's been in big moments. I looked back last year at a couple of our best stretches. She was in the game. And so we feel comfortable with her. I think she's earned more and more time, and we're going to need her down crunch time. And then Sedona, listen, she's just, she can do so many things. And when she gets stronger and becomes even more patient, She's going to be deadly force in the high post and in the low post as a passer. And then you saw her knock down those mid-range shots. I mean, you've got to go out and guard her. And then when you do, she can throw over the top of most people to a good post player. And her and Nyara still haven't played a ton together. So at some point, Nyara will be down around the basket, Sedona, somewhere in the middle, high post, and that could be a deadly combo. But we've yet to really see it because of injuries.
Any more questions for Coach Graves?
Yeah, who are you in the bands?
Mick Fleetwood. That's my favorite band, man.
I like it. Nice.
I would love to be a roadie with Fleetwood Mac, although they're even older than I am, but wouldn't that be fun?
I bet they're still kicking. They probably have some fun still.
Yeah, I've seen them a few times, and it's always worth it, you guys.
All right, that'll do it for us, Coach. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. See ya.
Good.